Welcome back to another episode of Save the World.
Aaron, that was the most melancholy introduction you've ever done to this show.
I'm blanking. What's my name?
It's Aaron. Last time I
Yeah. What's the other name? Because we have.
Oh, because I'm Dismal Dave.
Yeah.
I don't think we've talked about this on the show.
I had something.
Is it a word for melancholy?
No. Dang this thing. I don't know. But we're back. Ta-da! Back to save the world.
Indeed.
The two of us. I'll figure that intro out. Don't you worry. We'll get it figured out someday. I had it like several times throughout the last 3 weeks. Like it came to me like twice, and then I thought of it just barely before I tried to say it, and then it was gone again. So, yeah, it's back. Wait. I'm not losing it this time. I'm not gonna lose it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna put it into my notes right now, and then I'm gonna read it off my notes.
You should try again, is what you're saying?
Okay. Yes. Here we go. Now it'll work. Welcome to another episode of Save the World with Dismal David and Apathetic Aaron. We're here to solve your problems. Kind of.
Wow, that is, again, so melancholy.
I've been
We are excited to be here, even though we are Dismal David and Apathetic Aaron.
Yeah, that's true. It's been too long. It's been like 3 weeks. I've been feeling it. I've been missing it in my life. It's been too bad. But we're back, so no worries.
Ready to save the world.
Indeed.
Should we start with follow-up?
Just please. Let's do it.
All right. So, again, this is momentous because I have the starting follow-up this time. A rare occasion in the Save the World repertoire. But follow-up on all the education stuff we talked about last time.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can't go into all that again because we spent so much time on it already.
Yeah, we definitely, yeah.
But
yeah.
I am happy to report when I did my system turn where everything's due on test day and the students have these, personal checkoff lists that they're doing, and they have things that either due on test day or due at the end of the term. I only had one student that didn't turn in everything on test day.
Okay.
All the stuff that was due on test day, they didn't turn it in.
Hooray.
So
Success?
Success with an asterisk next to it because it's only one unit, right?
Yes.
And
the first unit, to say the least. Students are still motivated.
Yeah. So we'll see how it carries on through the rest of the semester and the year. But so far, so good.
Okay. Did the one student who didn't turn in everything, how much did they not? Did they not turn in anything?
They didn't turn in anything.
Oh.
So, yeah, and the student hasn't, once they had an F on the grading system, they didn't even come to me, so that's a bad sign. So I don't think that's a reach in this way anyways, but so far, so good, I will say.
Okay.
I mean, I'm still obviously going to help that student, but
clearly, that's, yes, but, you can
but the
help
system
someone.
is in place.
Yes,
which is
yes.
good.
That's good. Dude, I'm glad. I'm excited. I'm really hopeful. I'm really glad to hear that because I could see it going all over the place in my head when we were talking about it. It's like,
Yeah.
Some students could just turn in like a couple of things, like the first week, like you turn in a couple of things and then you just like totally blow it off until the end. But it's good to hear that like most of the students are on point, on task. So
Yeah.
out of how many students is this?
So again, I only teach one class because I'm also trying to get my master's degree.
Okay.
So it's like 34.
Okay, that's just 35. Okay, good.
But still,
good.
that's not bad for a single class.
That's true. That's a good percentage. Excellent. Any other problems that you've noticed with it, or
Just mostly trying to communicate it with students is the biggest problem so far. It's just students not realizing, like, hey, remember how I said right here on this sheet I handed to you that this is due this day? I've had some students who are like, oh, I didn't do the quizzes like I just like lost points. I'm like, no, you see right here where it says do an end of term. Like, so I've had to like remind students occasionally where they don't remember things we talked about. But other than that, there hasn't been much problem so far.
Okay.
Good.
That's good. Points to success, I think.
We might have a follow-up later if this crashes and burns, and then we can have an interesting discussion then on why it didn't work. But so far,
so far so good. Good, man. I'm glad. This will be good. You're gonna change the world. you and your 34 students.
Yeah, my one class of physics per year, changing the world.
Changing the world. Oh, bad. I think it's all the follow-up.
Yeah.
I haven't had any follow-up. I'm really nervous about that episode still, but that's okay. Just a worrier, so it's okay.
I heard warrior, what you also are, I think.
Yes, I think so, but not in that way.
How can you be apathetic Aaron if you're also a warrior?
Well, I can be an apathetic warrior, can't I?
You can be an apathetic warrior. You can't be an apathetic worrier. That's like the anti-definition.
Dang. Either worrying needs to go out or apathetic needs to go out. One of these things can't stay.
I think worrying should go out.
Okay.
Don't worry about anything. It's a good way to go.
Embrace the apathy. Dude, I had an apathetic day yesterday.
Yeah.
I just didn't care about anything. I just didn't do anything. Dude, it's pretty nice. It's a good day. I would recommend it. Take a day off once in a while and just let it all kind of ooze out of the system.
Okay. I'll try and do that sometime when I have a free day just to give to my apathy.
Should be never. It's okay. It's okay. We'll talk about that later.
Well, should we go on to topics? This
Dive
might be the
in.
shortest follow-up in a long time.
Yeah, well,
Since the first episode, because there was no follow-up.
I don't have much candy follow-up. Usually I've got something. Today I don't have any physical items, but the goods have arrived. So
Yes. And I'll get you that secret payment soon
Yes,
for
yes.
my portion of the supply.
yes. Good. Y'all didn't hear nothing though. just don't. You didn't hear anything. Shh.
Yeah. Our secret plans obviously are best put on a public podcast on the internet.
Yes. That sounds wise to me. I mean, the whole operation's already on the pod. We already talked about the smuggling operation on the podcast. So, I mean, I don't even, it's too late now. It's too late.
How else are we supposed to build the Big Turk market, right? We have to promote it somehow.
People have to know, and the only way people are going to know is if I get them Big Turks. If they don't have a Big Turk in their hand, they're never going to know how good these Big Turks are.
That's right.
That's why you should choose me for state representative. Yeah.
As president of the United States.
I would not aspire to such a thing. But, yeah. Big Turks. They'll be the primary sponsor for my campaign. I like it. Big Turks for everyone. That'll be my campaign. All the poor people get boxes of Big Turks.
Sounds like a plan.
I like it.
We'll get started on that.
Okay.
Campaign season is coming soon, so.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is. It is. Nice. Heck yeah. So, I see here on my list that security guards.
So, yes, it is on the list, and this is an interesting story.
Do tell.
So, I don't know if this is just the local Walmart or a national thing or what the case is, but the Walmart around here is open 24/7, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have the two sides, right? They have the grocery side and the non-grocery side. And for safety, they usually close the non-grocery side after 10 o'clock.
Right.
Which I understand, right? You have less employees in the store, less ability to monitor, that type of thing.
Yeah, fewer people going in and out. That's just
right.
Natural.
Yeah, so I'm okay with that. Like, okay, close down one side of the entrance.
Yeah.
Right? So that everyone enters and exits through the same side. But at the Walmart I go to buy groceries, one night I had to pick up something really late because I had forgotten it for class the next morning.
Mhm.
I wanted to do a lab and I needed to get some supplies for it.
Mhm.
So I go and it's like 11 o'clock at night. And
Okay. Yeah.
I use the self-checkout like I always do, so because I don't want to talk to a human being. Right?
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
at 11 o'clock at night.
Never ever use the human people when they're self-checkout. I never do that. So I agree. Yes.
But Walmart has this policy where after 10 o'clock, they have a security guard on duty
Mm-hmm.
that waits in front of the store or the place where you would like exit to
Yeah.
leave the store, right? The entrance area, not quite the entrance, but kind of where everyone kind of funnels through after
Yeah.
they check out the lines. And he waits right there and he has to check every receipt and see that it matches the stuff in your, your bags and your cart before you leave the store.
Wait. Every receipt.
Every receipt
Uh,
of every person after 10 o'clock to
Wait.
make sure they didn't steal anything.
So what did? So we checked your receipt.
Yeah, so I have 2 items. I was the only person in the self-checkout. He is standing next to the self-checkout kiosks.
Okay.
And like he obviously sees me, grab my 2 items, scan them, put them in a bag, and he still takes the time to look at my receipt, look in my bag, and then lets me go. And I was like, you could see me right over there. Like
yeah.
there's obviously no intent on my part to steal. Maybe I'll just look like a hooligan or something. I don't know.
That's
Put something in my pocket.
that's gotta be it. He saw you coming. He was like, this guy is trouble. But
But yeah, so it just drove me batty. I don't understand it. Because really, if I wanted to have stolen something from Walmart,
that would.
you know how easy it would be to put something in my pocket, or like
Right.
that is not a simple. It's not an effective solution. If you really want to steal something, you can steal something
Right.
past one guy that's checking your receipt.
Right. It's not a great solution to the problem. I mean, I can see it as like a deterrent almost, because like, oh, there's a security guard, and then you don't want to mess with him. But I think if you're bent on thievery, I don't think that's so interesting to me. I also had a similar experience at this similar Walmart like a while ago, like a couple, but it was just so strange because like they just check your receipt, I guess. Like, what are they checking for?
Right.
Like, did I put extra things in my bag? Did I? Is that how I'd steal stuff?
Right. The one that always gets me too is Costco does this, or at least they used to do this. I haven't been to Costco in a while.
Yeah, no, they still do.
They still
with
do
the
that?
marker. Yeah, with the
They'll-
markers.
They'll check everything.
Yeah, they'll.
So at least they mark it, but still, I always thought that was funny because my mom, when she went to Costco, she'd buy like $600 in stuff, and I'm like, there's no way
They're
that
not.
person really can effectively check a cart filled with $600 in groceries. And if my mom already paid $600 in groceries, why would she steal anything past that point?
Seriously.
She's gonna sneak in $800 of groceries with her $600 of groceries that she bought.
Well, it's like they don't check it. They don't. I mean, like they're checking just to make sure there's not like an extra TV on there. But like amount of time they give to the receipt. Like I don't know if there's a way that they specifically mark the receipt, but they don't look at that thing nearly long enough
Right.
to check for $600 worth of groceries, and they don't look at your cart nearly long enough. I don't know if it's just like a social deterrent. Like it's just like, oh, they're gonna check it, so just don't steal anything. But
Well, yeah, along this line, I think there is kind of 2 levels of security.
mhm.
Where the first level is you put things in place to stop people from feeling like they could get away with something. Right.
Yeah.
And then there's the second level of security, which is like the actual level of security where you stop people that can actually steal stuff and have the intent
Okay,
to
yeah.
do so.
Yeah, that's like them little trackers that they put on stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to buy like electronic stuff at the same kiosk or in the back where the electronic stuff is picked up in Walmart. It's that type of thing.
Right.
But this one always bothers me because I feel like there's so many other natural deterrents
Mm-hmm.
from stealing stuff at grocery store. The whole receipt thing, I feel, is unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they already have cameras on the self-checkout kiosks. They have, like, cameras throughout the store that, like, the little screens that you can see. Like,
Yeah.
it's clear that they're watching you and, like, monitoring this. So, like, if you're just the common man, you would have no, like, inkling to steal something to feel like you could get away with it anyways.
Right.
So why the security guard? And then it just gets me frustrated because now it just becomes like a challenge. Like, if this is all you're going to put in here to try and stop me, now I want to see if I can get past it.
David gets out of his next Walmart shopping trip with 3 cases of candy bars. Just like, what did you do, dude? It was a challenge. David just took the gauntlet and just threw it down. And just took him on, and I believe you could best him, David. I believe you could take him on. So, what's your proposed solution to this problem? Because this is a problem. I mean, it's a challenge, which is a problem. You don't want to be challenging people to steal stuff. I have to talk to somebody now. Like, I have to like interact with somebody, which the whole point of the self-checkout is so that I didn't have to talk to anybody.
Right.
How do we solve this problem?
Well, I don't think this is a problem in a lot of ways. Because think about it, this only happens after 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So they're obviously got security measures in between the hours of 6 in the morning and 10 o'clock at night when everyone is regularly shopping.
Yeah.
So this extra security guard isn't stopping people from stealing, because apparently only thieves steal after 10 o'clock, right? Like, is that what they're implying? Like, only thugs come around and steal stuff if it's after 10.
It's
so that's why
be after 10. They got a list of rules, and on the bottom of that list, no stealing before 10.
Yeah. So it just bothers me, because especially if you're, now I'm just going into the details of, like, if I was going to steal something. If I was going to steal something from Walmart, I wouldn't do it after 10 when it's not busy and it can be very evident that I was the person that stole.
That's true.
I would do it during the busiest time of the day.
That's true.
When there's more customers and more people around, and it's easier to get away.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Not to say that I'm going to steal, but why? If they're going to do the security guard to check the receipt, if anything, they should do it during the busiest time of the day. I'm not saying they should do that, but
no,
their logic doesn't follow very well, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
So I would say get rid of security guards checking receipts, because that doesn't do anything anyways.
I mean, I'm fine with them having the security guard there.
Yeah, that's okay.
But
just don't talk to me.
Just don't talk to me. Gosh, by golly, I came to the self-checkout so that I wouldn't have to talk to you.
Especially if you saw me with 2 items. And you saw me self-checkout.
Seriously. I can only imagine, like, what did you have in your bag? Like a box of granola bars and a ruler, and it's like, you think I'm stealing something? Like, it's a box of granola bars and a ruler.
Yeah,
nothing.
Yeah.
But,
and other,
I don't know.
Another tactic with stealing, if you're going to steal, you'd put a item with a bunch of other stuff, not 2 items.
Not 2. Right, you'd have piles of stuff, and then also slipped underneath the piles of stuff.
A bunch of CDs or something.
Right. Well, they already tried to do that with the self-checkouts too. That's why they have the whole, like, complicated scale system where you can't put your bag down on the bag side of this.
Oh yeah, I hate that.
Oh,
my item is in the bagging area. Stop telling me it's not.
I did that the other day. I scanned some. I went to the other local supermarket. I scanned something, put it in the bag. I scanned a bunch of stuff, but I put one of the things in the bag. It's like, oh, your item's not in the bagging area. I was like, I put it in. Okay, whatever, fine. So I grab it. I pull it out, and then it says, oh, you've removed an item from the bagging area. Please replace the item. I was like, what? What do you mean? So I put it back in. Please remove the extra item from the bagging area. I was like, no! So I pressed the I don't want to bag this item button, because I'm glad they added that so that I didn't have to go through the people. But anyway.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think the instant solution is don't check my receipt. This is pointless. The long-term solution of trying to stop stealing in stores. I don't know.
I don't know. I hear Amazon's got some good ideas about that. Not not like that you should just order everything online from Amazon, but
Yeah, that's the first solution.
it is. It's the best way. Dude, I love Amazon. It's
Yes.
the best.
Amazon Prime is a
Yes.
beautiful
You
thing.
You just buy, and 2 days later, it shows up all nicely packaged with all your nice new stuff. I wish I could just buy stuff all the time, but that's a problem. But Amazon, I hear Amazon's working on a store or something that's got like a lot of really complicated metrics to eliminate stealing and to make life easy.
Is it the same store that has the like automated, not just self checkout, but like
Yeah, it's like fully
it like you pull an item and you put it in your cart and it like knows that you put the item in the cart.
right, exactly that one. And then it like when you leave the store with the items in your cart, it just takes it all out of your bank account. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, charge. It's like you couldn't steal anything anyway because it's like, oh, I'm gonna steal these headphones, and you put them in your bag, and then guess what?
Yeah.
You get a $40 headphone charge.
I love the idea of that.
Hmm.
I feel like I would still take a while to get used to that because I like the finality of a transaction.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't be complete just leaving the store. I feel like I would have stolen stuff even though I know that like it's obviously going to be charged, but
Right. Because you just walk out and you're like, that was kind of weird. Where's all my? I feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah.
And then, but see, I think it would go away quickly because then you'd check your bank account and you'd be like, oh, didn't miss anything, did I?
as long as they just put like a button on the right side of the door for me
Yes.
that says like bought, or buy or something.
Buy. The buy
Like,
button.
that would just make me feel better. Like a finality of transaction.
It doesn't have to be a little. It could be a big red button that you can just boom. You just take your fist and you just slam it like an arcade game almost
Yeah.
for buying your. And then the boring people who don't want to press the button can just walk out, but the rest of us can go heck yeah, bang. I don't know, like balloons or like a siren or something will go off, like something good, something real good. That's what I want. I think that would be ideal.
It's just like a $2 button. Like it has no like purpose other than to make you feel good.
Right. I mean, it's mostly just a plastic dome and a light behind it, but that's all it needs to be. I mean, I don't need something expensive. It doesn't need to be like fancy. It's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is that I could smash a big red button.
And that'd be better than regular grocery shopping for sure.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, but I think
Okay.
we got some good things going on here.
Yeah.
But-
I don't see any problems. Well,
Stop checking my receipt.
stop checking. You're awfully possessive of that receipt of yours. Huh?
I am.
Quite.
It represents me having to talk to you if you take it.
The best is when they don't talk to you. The worst is when they try and like make small talk. It's like it's 1:00 in the morning, man. You don't want to be here, and I don't want to be here. We shouldn't be here, but we're here. Don't try and small talk right now, please, man. Just check the receipt. I know it's your job. I know you're just getting paid to do it. Don't talk to me.
We'll get through it.
So, I feel kind of bad for those guys too, because like I'm sure they don't enjoy for their security job. Sitting at a Walmart
Yeah.
checking receipts. That sounds miserable. Maybe I'll buy them a candy bar next time.
And a big red button
And a
Press.
big.
when they finish their job.
Like, could you just put this on your desk and just press it when you're done? Let me press it when I'm done, and we'll be happy.
This is how you're going to clock in and clock out. This giant red button.
I wish we could clock in and clock out like that. I gotta tell my boss. That's a great idea, David. Like, getting into work in the morning, you just go, you're tired and you bump your head against the wall, and then you just press the button, and like the lights turn on in the shop, and everything starts up, and it's like, oh, it's time to work. Be magical.
Indeed.
So it's time for our problem well solved this week.
I'm glad you have one of these ready to go every time. Because I'm like totally unaware of good things going on around me.
I mean,
I take them for granted too much. I probably should be more aware of the beautiful things going on in the world. But
I mean, I just don't care, but being dismal does kind of do that to you.
how can I see any beauty in the world when I'm dismal, Dave?
So, our problem well solved for this week. Sometimes you've got a lot of stuff and not a lot of money. And you think, if I could just turn this stuff back into money, that'd be real great. Good news, people of the world. There's a solution. It's called a yard sale.
Okay.
Yard sales are our problem well solved for this week. They solve a problem in a way that I don't quite understand. I still don't understand yard sales. So you've got Amazon. We'll take Amazon for example. They've got a huge selection of products. And you just buy the stuff, you get it shipped to your door. It's great. It's whatever. Take that a step back, and you go to like a market, like a supermarket. You're like, okay, yeah, you go to the supermarket, and there's stuff that you want, and you buy it. It's great. It's all new, fancy, nice stuff. And then there's thrift stores where you go and somebody has donated all these items, and some of your donations, some of your purchase money will probably go back into charity, hopefully. And it's all kind of used stuff, so you can buy sometimes new stuff, but mostly used stuff, and you buy used stuff. Then you take one more step away from that, and you get a yard sale where you take your front yard, you lay out a tarp, you put all the stuff you don't want from inside your house onto the tarp, charge a pitiful amount percentage-wise for how much you paid for it.
Right.
You bought this shirt for $40. Guess how much you're selling it for? $1. Oh, they wanted 2 shirts for $1? Sold. You take all this stuff, you put it on your front yard, you put some signs up, and I don't know what happens, okay, David? I still don't quite understand this. Something happens in the universe, it kind of rustles the universe, and out of the woodworks comes people. They come. Okay, that's the part that breaks my mind.
Right.
Okay, people come, but I can't fathom. They come to the yard sale, and then they buy stuff, and then they leave. Okay, I've done as a fundraiser. My family's done yard sales before. We like yard sales. They're awesome for getting rid of stuff. This is people because for some reason it works. I don't quite understand it, but at the end of the day, we always have a bunch of money and no more stuff. And I don't understand what happens. I don't understand what causes people to come to my yard sale and buy my things. My old, used, useless, worthless to me things. And granted, they pay, a percentage, a small, minuscule percentage of the original price, but
right.
They still buy it.
So first of all, let me just say, okay, I'm very glad you're coming at this from the seller perspective.
Okay.
If you were going to tell me that buying at yard sales was an effective thing to do, we would have had a very long argument just now.
Well, see, that's the part I don't understand, because I've been to yard sales as a buyer before, and I don't buy hardly anything ever.
I agree with you, though. I don't know where people come from. Some people just love yard sales. I know a couple of people that are that way. Well, they'll just go searching almost for yard sales.
Yeah.
On weekends and stuff.
They go yard sailing.
Yeah. I don't get it.
They get in their car and they look for the signs. Those big posters that you put up. You put Sharpie on a piece of paper and put it up.
I don't understand where the people come from. I've never actually done a yard sale, selling stuff.
Okay.
Just thinking about growing up in my family. Mm-hmm. My dad would always just throw stuff away or donate it to a thrift store, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Because from his perspective and my perspective, I probably would say it's not worth my time to take the time to do a yard sale that morning or that day and waste a bunch of hours waiting for these people to come. I mean, they'll probably come and maybe they'll have it. I just want to take that time out of my day. I'd much rather just put it all in a truck.
Okay.
And say, I'm going to take this to the thrift store. They can take care of it.
See. And the thing with the yard sales, that happens still. You don't get away from that. That's the thing with the yard sale, is you still have to do that at the end of the day.
So I guess, have you found it profitable enough to justify?
Yeah, dude. Like, so so sometimes you see like a piddly little yard sale and it's like a couple items, like one tarp's worth of items
Right.
laid out on the ground. And that's, it's a yard sale, but it's nothing big.
Right.
We didn't do small yard sales. When it was a yard sale, it was a yard sale. We have a huge front yard. It comes and it elbows around our house. And then we have a driveway right next to it. So we have this pretty big yard, like the width of the house. And then also the depth of the house back
Right.
on the side.
Right.
Dude, we'd fill that place with stuff.
Really?
We had stuff piles of clothes and toys and like furniture sometimes we'd get our neighbors and be like, hey, you guys have stuff you want to get rid of? We're doing a yard sale. You guys want to get rid of it? We'll take it away from you. And they'd give us stuff. They'd be like, yeah, we don't want this stuff. And we'd take it. We'd have so much stuff. Dude, it was an ordeal. It was not a small. We didn't wake up at 7 o'clock and go, I guess we'll put the stuff out. And no. We were up at 4 pricing and getting stuff ready. 4 o'clock in the morning, we'd get the stickers out and start pricing things. How much is that worth? 25 cents? 25 cents. We write 25 cents on our stickers. Put the 25-cent sticker. Dude, people buy like crazy. We'd make hundreds of dollars
Wow.
from these yard sales. It broke my mind. I couldn't understand it. I still don't understand it. I don't understand where all the stuff went.
See, Aaron, now that sounds like a nightmare to me, but I can see your intrinsic joy in putting stickers on things. Throwing things in the yard. It also probably helps. I know where you live, and you're pretty close to a major road.
Yeah.
So that helps too.
It does help a lot.
I'm pretty far out from a major highway or anything, so our house probably would be harder to find. But I can just see the entire Aaron clan coming together, putting stickers on stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The stickers are the favorite part. I mean, what else do you want?
I could tell.
I mean, Saturday morning comics? No, Saturday morning stickers, dude. Saturday morning stickers. It was an ordeal, but like by about 3 o'clock, we were all done. We were all ready to be done. But like 2 o'clock rolls around, you still have like half your stuff. Throw it on a car and take it to the thrift store. Like then you do the same thing. You just get rid of it. It's done. We got all we could out of it, and now it's gone.
I feel like I would enjoy a yard sale if I could join your family in one of those experiences. So maybe the next time you do it, let me know. I'll come over at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
And I could see how a yard sale is supposed to be done.
Yes.
At the Aaron household.
Well, I mean, you're not just gonna see. You're gonna help.
Yes.
There's a lot of stickers. we buy a lot of stickers. So I think it's a great solution to the problem. Like big yard sales. I think little yard sales, they're still good. I've been to a couple. I don't understand why you'd want to buy stuff, but people do. So like, if you need to get rid of a bunch of stuff, I got the solution. I got a problem well solved. Do a yard sale. Don't just take it to the thrift store. Do a yard sale. Make a couple bucks. You'll make some money. You will.
Or if you don't want to take any hours of your day, take it to the thrift store. But I can see why this works out for you and you enjoy this.
Mm-hmm. It's come up less and less. We've done it less and less often because the kids are getting old and moving out.
Right.
And we don't need to fundraise for anything anymore because we all have jobs. So it's a good thing to do with kids.
Yeah.
But once your
That's
kids
true.
are turning into adults, it's
Kids stuff sells easier too.
that's true.
Kids toys, kids clothes,
Mhm.
that type of thing.
Let me tell you what. Yeah, that's what sells at yard sales: furniture and toys. I always feel bad for the piles of clothes. Because like there are the I don't want to say crazy, but there are
Crazy people.
Yeah. Crazy, the intense yard sailors that will go and sort through your clothes to find the clothes that they want. Like,
Right.
It's crazy. I'm like, what
Yeah.
are you doing? But furniture and kids' toys, those
Nice.
are the big ticket items.
I gotta tell you 2 stories really quick.
Okay.
So
tell.
whenever I hear the word yard sale,
Mhm.
I'm reminded of a story. This is totally unrelated to yard sales themselves, but
Yeah.
there was a teacher I work with that when he bought his house, he had his backyard already, fenced in and everything and all this stuff. And a few years after he moved into the house, he found out that the property line didn't match up correctly with where the fence was.
Yeah.
And somehow there was like a block of his yard, this like little chunk of his yard that actually wasn't his.
Oh, okay.
And he already had the fence in, and like for some reason it wasn't his neighbor's either. Like it just was like unclaimed property.
Yeah.
So he had to go to an auction to buy a part of his yard.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So like he didn't own like a 50-foot by 50-foot part of his yard or whatever it was, and
yeah,
he had to go buy it. Or 50 feet is probably too big, but
yeah,
whatever chunk it was, he had to go buy this part of his yard at an auction house or whatever.
They didn't just like.
Yeah, it didn't just like
Give it to
automatically
him, like-
go to him, or like they didn't just agree on a price. You had to actually go auction.
He had to
for
go
it.
auction for. Did anyone else? I gotta know. Did anyone else like? It was someone bidding against him. Like,
I don't think so, but like we were joking as a faculty that we were gonna go and like bid on his property.
what if the faculty of the school bands together and goes and buys the property?
We hold our like school parties back there in his yard.
There's room for like one table and like a couple chairs, but hey, we'll pack a couple people in there, have a party in your backyard. Ding.
Yeah.
Although that probably wouldn't work because it's in his backyard.
So it'd be trespassing to get
It'd be
there.
He'll just put a no trespassing sign up, and it's like, oh.
So you have to like catapult into that block of the yard.
Catapult. Just helicopters. We got a safer solution. Helicopters.
Skydiving.
Skydiving. You got to be pretty accurate to nail that little spot. Little 20-foot square. Like, I don't know.
Anyway, so I can't hear yard sale without thinking of that story now. It makes me laugh.
Okay, nice.
The other thing I do appreciate about yard sales is that there is the ability to bargain.
Yeah.
Some people are less or more strict on that, but that's often something people like to do, is to bargain.
Right.
And try and get the price down or that type of thing. They like that kind of experience.
Yeah.
And again, that's not my style,
Mm-hmm.
but I have to tell you a story about one time I did go to a thrift store, and they were doing volunteer hours. So I like volunteered at the thrift store and was helping clean some stuff and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And while I was there, I found this set of like broken speakers from the 80s, maybe even 70s. They're pretty old.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, they're right there in the classroom.
Oh, those ones. They
Yeah.
still have the stickers on them.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I saw them, and they still have the plus minus plugs on the back,
Yeah.
which you can't find anymore.
The red and black ones.
No, older than that. They're like
What?
actual screws. You just connect directly to the screws.
And you screw them in like an outlet, like an electrical outlet. Oh, what?
Yeah. Anyways, they're super nice for if you have. I use them for my classroom because I have a wave generator that has banana plugs and alligator clips.
Okay.
So I can clip directly onto it, and the banana plugs going in on the other side into the wave generator.
Yeah.
And so you can't find that on speakers anymore. So I wanted to buy these because I'm like, I can use this for a physics demo.
Yeah.
And no one else is going to buy these because this technology is like 30 years old, maybe
Right.
more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I go and I look at the sticker, and it says $10. And I was like, oh, $10 for both. That's reasonable, but I mean, it's a broken speaker.
It's a little pricey. Yeah.
It's a little pricey. And I go up to the store guy to buy the speakers after I'm done with my volunteer shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hey, I was just working in the back, and I saw these. I was wondering if I could buy them. And he's like, okay, that'll be $20.
$20.
like, oh, I thought these was 10 for both. Right? I thought the sticker meant it was a pair. He's like, no, if it was a pair, they would have, this marking on them. So this is 10 for each speaker.
$10 each?
Yeah. And I was like, these speakers are pretty much useless. Like, the only reason I want them is because I'm a physics teacher. I'm like trying to explain that he's not going to be able to sell them again.
That's why the bargaining didn't work.
Yeah, so the bargaining didn't work. And plus, he's just like a regular employee, so he probably doesn't have that authority anyway.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh, it says $10, and yada. And I was like,
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
fine, I'll just buy them because I want them. And so I ended up buying these broken speakers for $20, and I was really mad because I felt like I should
no.
have paid maybe $5
Yeah.
for both.
Let's see. That's what I. I'm sorry, my friend. I have a feeling that perhaps you don't bargain enough to know. Like I don't know. I don't bargain that often, but
Are you doubting my ability, Aaron? Is that what you're saying?
I feel like trying to explain why they should be cheaper is not the way of bargaining. It's okay though. I don't know how to. I don't bargain that often either. But someday, dude, someday we should go bargaining. Sounds fun.
That sounds awful.
Oh, okay. I guess we won't do that then.
You can go bargain and I can go watch. That would be fun.
Can we go? We should go. Dude, we could do. Dude, I have an excellent idea for an episode of SW. We'll see. I will. It might have to wait till next summer, but
Okay.
I've got a great idea.
I have a feeling this is going to be on the road if you're going to do this.
Yes, it is. It's gonna be on the road. It's gonna be great. Okay.
Do you want to make note of it right now?
Nah. This is an idea that's been kicking around in my head for the last 5 years. So.
Wow. We didn't even know each other back then. That's impressive.
I know. It's the podcast is a way to make the idea a reality. The idea requires some sort of public. I don't even know what to call it, like a public
Outlet.
viewing. Yes, public outlet. Yes. So we'll see.
Well, you're building it up. You better be ready to,
Oh,
stand by this
Oh,
when
I'll
summer comes around.
you kidding me? I'll stand. Yeah, the plus side with it kicking around in my head for 5 years is that I feel like I have a good explanation around it. I don't know that I actually have a good explanation because I've never explained it to anybody, but we'll see. Not right now. Bombay.
Okay.
We get them.
Let's mark your calendars, everybody. This summer.
Summer of 20. What year is it?
19.
20.
It's 2018 right now.
Okay.
It'll be Summer of 2019.
Summer of 2019. Das W goes on the road.
It's going to be big.
It's gonna be expensive. I wish they'd say that for when they were advertising things. That'd be better. It's like, we have a giant monster truck rally. It's really expensive. Like, tickets are cheap, but it was really expensive. Be like a metric for how. Anyway.
I was trying to think of something to bring you back to what we were talking about, but you were just going.
I'll
I
bring
was gonna leave
myself
you be.
back. I'm coming back. So, problem well solved. Yard sales. Is there a way to make them better? No. They're perfect.
Well, the way to make them better is to do them the way Aaron does it.
Yeah, big
Do 'em big.
yard sales. Get donations from everybody. And then the best part is, the people who donated, our neighbors, came to the yard sale. I can't remember if they bought anything. I have no idea but I bet they bought something.
Right.
And it's just a terrible.
They gave you stuff and then they bought. They paid you.
Exactly. The worst with the most dangerous thing with yard sales, though, big yard sales like that, is sometimes people donate stuff that you want. And it's like,
really?
oh no. Because the whole point of the thing is to get rid of stuff.
Right.
And then they donate something you want. You're like, I can't do this. This is a trap.
So, for this next bit, we're going to try something a little bit different from what we've done on Save the World.
That's true.
Sorry, your face. I wish you guys could have seen Aaron's face. He has a profound realization here.
You guys miss out so much without seeing my face. You guys, my hands are doing stuff. My face is doing stuff. Yeah.
We should just have a video recording that just focuses on your face. They'll still never see me. It'll just be you talking, and that's the podcast.
Like one of those really creepy tracking ones where it just like stays on your face and just like goes with your face.
It rotates about the center of your face.
Yes,
to, like, stay in position and alignment.
Maybe someday. We'll see.
To get a little bit more funding for the podcast.
Yeah. Then we can invest in silly things like that.
So anyways, like we were saying,
Sorry.
this is a new thing we're going to try because Aaron recommended a book to me that he really enjoyed, and I also thoroughly enjoyed. And so we're going to discuss things in the book we liked and whether or not other people should read this book and why, and how the world would be a better place if they did read this book.
So, as with all things book-related, since this is a book that I recommended, I'm going to take the moment to say, spoiler alert. This book is ruined with spoilers. So,
Right.
like, the whole point of the book is that you should never have heard of it before. It's called Rendezvous with Rama, R-A-M-A. It's by Sir Arthur C. Clarke. So if you haven't read the book,
Stop right now.
stop right now. If you ever intend on reading the book, it's a science fiction book, and if you ever intend on reading the book, if you're interested at all, stop right now. So download it. You can get an audiobook format, you can get a solid copy format, get the book, read it, then listen.
And even if you're not a science fiction guy, which I actually am not, I still enjoyed it. So if you want like an intro into the science fiction world, this is a good one to start with too.
Ooh, okay.
So to give you a little bit more motivation if you do. And again, I actually don't know the length of the book. All lengths of books for me now are in audio form. So it's about 8 hours, which isn't bad for an audio book. Like that's a relatively short book.
That's pretty short. I've read as short as 4 and as long as 36. So 8's pretty good.
36. Holy crap.
Yeah, dude. Maybe even 39
That's great.
hours of audio. So it's a lot. Those are good books. That's the Wheel of Time I've been reading that's keeping me from reading all the other books. That's why.
Yeah,
They're
my
like
brother-in-law reads that series.
20 hours and 30 hours and 25 and 36. And it's just like, oh.
And the hard thing is, you may be saying, oh, like, well, what's it about? But just like Aaron said, like the whole book is building on this idea that you don't know what's going on almost. Like it's kind of hard to explain. So
I'm going to ask David to splice this in, though, before we talk about the book, right after the spoiler warnings.
Okay.
People, you just listened to the spoiler warnings, but please, we just talked about the book. If you have any interest at all, you have to read the book, or else we'll spoil everything for you. Okay? We're about to talk about everything. Please read the book. Especially you, my sister. Read it. And then listen to the rest of this podcast. Because it'll destroy everything if you listen to the podcast. It won't be the same experience. You won't experience it the way it was meant to be experienced. Please, read the book.
okay, I'll splice that in.
Thank you. I feel this, like, after talking about it, I realize, like, exactly, like,
right.
how much is just ruined if you just listen to us talk about it.
Just if you have interest, you have the time, you want an intro into the sci-fi world, or if you like sci-fi books, you'll definitely like this one.
Definitely.
So make your decision now.
Okay, decision time's up. If you didn't decide to pause the podcast, then it's too late, and you're getting all the spoilers, which for some of you will be fine, because you don't want to read it, but that's fine. So, the book, Rendezvous with Rama. And it was published in 1973, so it's actually kind of old. It's a little dated.
Yeah. But again, really good. Should we start with a synopsis, or how do we want to do this?
Probably. I think that would be wise. And I don't know. I have a feeling that you're going to be better at summarizing the book.
All right.
Than I will be. So, will you please summarize?
Okay. So, the book starts out. It's been a couple years in the future. I think around 2050 is what the book says. Again, this was written in the 70s, so this is thinking like 100 years down the road for the person that was writing it. Mm-hmm. And basically, the world has kind of come together after some major, war problems and meteor showers and a bunch of like terrible things have happened to the world that have caused the world to kind of unite and solve some problems. And they have this massive space program. Mm-hmm. And they're living on other planets at this point and all these good things.
Yep.
But one day, towards Earth, they see an abnormality on their radars of this meteor that's coming into the Earth's orbit.
Yep.
and into the solar system that is not behaving like other meteors. So that's kind of how it starts. Is there's a meteor kind of heading towards Earth, towards the sun, and it's abnormal. It doesn't send the same type of signals. It doesn't reflect the light the same way, and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole purpose of the book is that you find out that meteor is actually a vessel. It's a alien ship of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously made because it's like perfectly cylindrical and all these things they can figure out by analyzing the signal. And so because they have this nice space program, they actually send somebody to rendezvous with it, to land on it, and they call this big ship Rama.
Mm-hmm.
Thus the name Rendezvous with Rama.
Uh-huh.
So
That's perfect. Like I was just like, it's perfect.
So without going into everything, because that's part of the fun of the book, is the style of the book is that you learn slowly one part of this alien civilization, the Ramans, as they call them,
Mm-hmm.
at each part of the book. So you learn a little bit more as they analyze the signal, that you learn a little bit more when they actually land in on the vessel. You learn a little bit more as they go into the vessel, and then they start to explore. And so you learn a little bit more and more about the Ramans as the book progresses. And that's kind of what holds you into the book, is it's really well paced
Mm-hmm.
in how much information you get about them as you go through the book. And so they get inside the vessel, and then they're able to see, because supposedly none of them are alive inside the vessel because they don't detect any, life, but they start running into like robots that are inside of it, and they see the buildings they made and these types of things. So you get to slowly learn more about the Ramans
Mm-hmm.
with each step,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I loved about the book,
Mm-hmm.
because it was, well paced on what grabbed you. Like, oh, what is that? What is that? What is
Yeah.
that thing they're doing? Why would they do that?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the synopsis to start.
Yes.
I think we'll start with that.
Okay. I like it a lot. It's so like the first part of the book is so boring. Like I'm just like so bored every time I read the first part. I'm like, United Space Federation, whatever. I'm bored. But as soon as they get to the point where they're actually rendezvousing with the spaceship, that's where it really starts to get really, really, really interesting, because it's this like David said, it's a cylinder, but it's not a small cylinder. Like it's not a small vessel. I had to look this up because I couldn't conceive of the numbers they used, since he was British.
Right.
He used everything in kilometers, and I had to I have no measure for how much a kilometer is.
That's funny, because that wasn't a problem because I teach physics.
Oh.
So like, I can see though that being like an issue of like getting a sense of scale. But,
Right. So that's what I just barely, I had to remember exactly how big it was. So the cylinder itself is 50 kilometers long.
Right.
And poor old me, I'm like, how big is that? That's 30 miles.
Yeah.
So it's 30 miles long. It's huge. It's
Right.
so big. And they go, I love this book so much for so many reasons. But the same thing, I think, for you is the discovery.
Yes.
I have to say, that's probably one of my favorite parts of all books ever. Like all media, all the things that we go over, like movies and all this stuff like this. The discovery element is what really grabs me. That's what really, like How to Train Your Dragon. Like there's How to Train Your Dragon and How to Train Your Dragon 2. And number 2 is really good. Like it was really good. It was a really good movie.
Right.
But it never, in my mind, never beats out 1, because 1 is this discovery process that's unlike anything else.
Trying to understand why the dragons behave the way they do.
Exactly. And this book is so exciting because it is just this discovery of this crazy alien place. They get inside the cylinder, and it's just this huge dark thing that you can't see anything in, and they start wandering around, and it's just gripping. It's so fun because, and the best part about it is it's not because easy enough to make stuff like that into like a horror book or a thriller book, yeah.
Right.
But they didn't. It's truly just a discovery book where you're just learning about all this stuff. It's just exploration.
Right. That was one of the things I appreciated actually a lot about the book. Was I was expecting once they get inside, aliens gonna pop out and they're gonna get in a laser battle. None of that is in there. Like the aliens are presumed dead because they can't detect any of their life signals in there,
Mm-hmm.
and you really don't see them or meet them in any physical shape. We'll talk about the end in a bit, but and it's just them exploring the vessel. Like,
Yeah.
how did they build these buildings? Why are these here? Why would they put this way?
Yeah.
And like you said, that's awesome. I really loved the physics of it all. Like, there's a couple parts where I'm like, oh, like, yeah, that's a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
But everything was physics reasonable.
Okay.
Like, everything
okay.
in my mind said, yeah, that's how physics would work in that case.
Okay.
That may be like way too much power for that, or way too much, setup for this. But, that's a
right.
physically consistent setup, which I really appreciate. It wasn't just like all random sci-fi stuff. They're like, oh, we
Yeah.
got to account for the G-force from the, rotation and those types of things. And
Right.
They have to,
I'm getting-
they have to have a light system and all that. Like, there was a lot of cool things that I
Mhm.
liked about the physics.
Okay. I'm so glad. Because like a lot of sci-fi stuff, I feel like a lot of sci-fi stuff is that way, where like you get into it and you're like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like, no, that's not how that works. And like all the physics of everything starts breaking down. I'm glad to hear your report that it is pretty consistent. Like, it is like not totally crazy. It's not. I agree. Some of it is a little bit kind of like, I don't know, but it's not totally crazy, which I'm
Right.
happy to hear about. I especially, one thing that I super loved was the mental orientation that the astronauts had to take going
Right.
into that place. Like, I've never considered it like that, because they get into the spaceship, and it's this huge. It's huge, and they talk about this guy. Sir Clark talks about how it could be the way you can think about it really can throw some astronauts off. He was talking about, like, I don't know. I don't know if that's
So-
a true thing, but
Yeah, so let's talk about how they set up the ship to give the listeners an idea
okay.
of what's
yeah,
going on.
Please.
So they get inside the cylinder, right? And they're exploring this vessel. And it's the age-old idea that if you rotate a cylindrical object, right, then the rotation itself gives you the same experience with your own inertia that it creates this artificial gravity.
Like water in a bucket.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's this artificial gravity caused by the rotation of the cylinder. And I appreciate that they make note that, because the cylinder is big enough and rotating fast enough, this is possible. There's a lot of sci-fi films that don't make any regard to that. It's like, no, that vessel's way too small to have any type of artificial gravity. But they actually show or they don't show, but they explain that the numbers are big enough that you can actually experience this artificial gravity.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't just it just doesn't totally destroy you like how some of the smaller things would.
Right. But so Aaron's description that he's talking about with the astronauts, that's interesting, is the astronauts come in from the top of the cylinder. So if you're in the center of the top of the cylinder, right, there's no gravity because you're along the rotation axis. And so when they come in, they're not experiencing any gravity, but they're looking at this world that is perfectly symmetric about them. And there's like this big staircase to the ground level where the gravity is actually there. But when they enter, they can look up and feel like they're looking down at a surface. They can look down and feel like they're looking up at a surface or down as,
Yeah.
And so this idea that they're at the top of the cylinder and then on all sides is a reasonable view of the world gives them this like vertigo that they have to overcome and orient themselves in a specific direction, which I
Right.
thought was really cool. I agree.
Yeah, right. It's almost like imagining yourself at the top of a well, but a huge well, like a miles in diameter well that just
Right.
goes straight down. And that's a dangerous thing, is like you can look down at that and go, oh, you start freaking out because you're just looking down into this endless abyss where you think, oh, I'm gonna fall
Right.
into that, or you look, like you're saying, you look up and there's the world, and I'm gonna fall that way, but you're not, because you're in zero gravity. You're just kind of floating there.
Yeah, so that was super interesting.
I really appreciated that.
The other thing I loved was there's a C in the middle of the cylinder, and so if you think about it, the C is perfectly, again, cylindrical, so it's just like this ring around the outside of the cylinder, but it's all water.
Mhm.
Which is kind of a cool visual to think of in your mind, first of all, just like water surrounding the surface. But they find out that the vessel can actually accelerate. This ship, the Raman ship, can actually accelerate.
Mhm.
And they find out the reason why, that they figure out the I love this part. They figure out the max acceleration because they figure out how high the walls are on the edges of the sea to hold it inside the sea. And this vessel can accelerate faster than that. Otherwise, the water would splash out of the sea, which is really cool. Like they can, I love that. I'm like, I wanted to do the calculation myself. I was like, oh, like, okay, so what? They have this much water and, the walls are this high. And so
it makes me so happy.
I love that part. There's a lot of things where like physics justified the explanation and vice versa. It was cool. It was cool.
I agree. I love all the talk about space drive. That was always funny. It was like, oh, how does it go? Well, space drive. but I agree that it's just such a cool book. It's just such a fun book.
Can I share other moments?
Yes, please.
Or did you have a specific one?
No, please go.
Okay, a couple of other moments that I loved. So part of the story that I enjoyed is that he theorizes a lot about what the social circumstances would be if we had multiple planets that we lived on. So he talks about the Martians and the people that live on the moon and the people that live on Mercury and how they perceive things differently.
Yeah.
And like how our culture kind of shifts from like nations to actually like we live on different planets and we group ourselves based on our planet rather than on our nation. And just like how they perceive things like the people that live on Mercury have this like really like tough guy attitude because they can't ever live on Earth because they can't experience that gravity and survive.
Right.
Because the gravity is so light on Mercury and Mercury is so hot that they've lived inside these, like contained bases. And so they just get this like really hard as nails mental attitude about life and, to survive and these types of things. And so there's a lot of cool parts about that. That I found interesting how he thought how society would develop and adapt to that. Sorry, before I move on, did you have thoughts on that? Or?
Well, yeah, I never thought about how genius that actually was until you just barely brought that up. I never considered exactly his thought process in creating that and the way that does kind of, I don't know, reflects on the planets and on people and how that might happen. And it just kind of broke my mind. I was like, whoa, just barely that all happened.
Yeah, I love too that he talks about like because they have the main like United Planet Federation. I can't remember that actual name, but their main headquarters is on the moon. Yeah, and I loved how he talks about like they would try and bring people in, but they could do Skype calls. Basically, he doesn't call them Skype calls, but because they didn't have that in the 70s. But he calls it basically a Skype call. But I can't remember which planet he says, but one of the planets couldn't participate that way because their Skype call would be like 4 minutes behind. Because they're so far away, the light could take too long to travel. Like it was just cool things like that. I'm like, like he really had a good understanding of physics and took the time to think about what those would look like. And so I appreciated that too. Like this whole society, what would it look like if it lived on multiple planets? Which I found interesting.
It's way cool.
But one of the spoilers is the other part I really enjoyed about the book, or one of the scenes I really enjoyed about the book.
Okay, go for it.
So they get on this planet. They're exploring it, and they find out it can accelerate, and they find these things that gives them suspicion that the Ramans have malintent. They're going to try and enter like Mercury's orbit and actually join the solar system. They believe that some people believe they actually might be trying to like cause destruction or take resources or something like that.
Right. And that's all given by like the way the ship is approaching the sun and how it could slow down and join, like David said, join the orbits of the planets and become almost like a new planet, and that as humans gives them reason to think, oh, maybe they're here to destroy us. Right.
And so I love this part too, because there's this political, it shows the political side of how the planets are reacting, all these ambassadors and stuff, and them trying to decide. But the people on Mercury take matters into their own hands. And they launch basically a missile towards Rama. And they give the crew, this part I didn't quite fully understand, like they're able to stop the missile and they give the crew some time to get off before they blow it up.
Right. They send the missile and put it almost like kind of put it in orbit.
Yeah.
with Rama.
Yeah. So for that part I was like, it's a little bit of a stretch, but I appreciate it. Crew that's exploring Rama, you have, 2 hours to get out so that we can blow it up, basically.
Right.
And I love this part because what they do is they send a member to fly out to to the missile and disable it. and then come back. And the reason they can do that is because the signal takes like a certain amount of time to get back to Mercury. So they can't send the code to launch the missile in time before the crew has gone and disabled the missile. I love that part. Like they account for all the time differences would be and how long the signals would take, and they send a guy out and he goes and disables it and comes back. It's just really cool because like the crew decides they don't want Rama to blow up.
Right. Yeah,
they're like we need to preserve this.
That's
and so, anyway, I just love that whole scene because it's a cool idea.
Yeah. Well, that part makes me so mad. Like every time I hear that, because I'm like, to this point, listeners, like nothing has happened with Rama. Like nothing about Rama is threatening. Like it's sure like some of the orbits look kind of scary, but like the crew's been inside of Rama and there's nothing there. Like it's kind of dead. It's like there's not really anything to this point. But Mercury's still like, oh, we're going to blow it up because it's dangerous. It's like, you idiots, like, knock it off. Like, we can get stuff in there just in case. Like, just wait, okay? Hold your freaking horses and let us figure this out. Right. It makes me so mad that they're just so rash about it.
Right. Yeah, but that was, I did enjoy that part of the book. I found that interesting. So just a quick side note. This is also why the Mars rover actually can only travel at like 1/10 of an inch per second, because any commands from Earth take 4 minutes to get to Mars.
Oh, so they don't want to cause it to go speeding along,
right? And then realize there's an obstacle, and then like they send a command to turn, and then it like just goes off a cliff,
I never thought about that.
Yeah, but because I've wondered that before, like why is the rover so flippin' slow? You feel like I always felt like they could have built it faster. They could have,
right?
But they decided not to because they needed to have very precise controls,
right?
And they can only send commands every 4 minutes. It takes 4 minutes for a command to register.
Right,
the light has to travel that far.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know that today. I learned.
But the book does a way better job of making that idea more like profound and
a little bit more concrete.
Uses it in a very interesting story element, which is cool.
And he uses humor too to kind of
right
in that part where the guy goes out to disable the missile. There's a little bit of throws in quite a bit of humor on like just how that whole thing plays out. I can't remember what, but it was just funny. I just remember it being just funny.
Also, quick side note: I appreciated that the main crew captain was Australian.
Yeah. How was his accent? In the audiobook? Yeah.
It was good.
Okay.
He got a good Aussie accent.
Okay.
I appreciated it.
That's good. I can't remember. Was there only one reader or was there a crew of readers?
No, it was one reader. He does a good job. I really liked him. If you do I don't know which version it is, but I just did Audible.
Yeah.
If you just do the Audible version, the
Yeah.
guy's really good. He has a good, solid, like sci-fi voice.
Yeah, he does.
The intro, he does a really good intro to the book too. I liked it.
He did a great. Oh, I love. Yeah. The audiobook's a great way to go through that book. Although the audiobook's a little bit dangerous if you listen to it for too long, because I found myself even on the second time through, like I would kind of get lost in the description, because a huge part of the book is describing, like at least the middle of the book, a huge part of it's describing what you see and how it goes. And if you listen to it for 4 hours straight, it just kind of it starts to go over your head.
You gotta do it in like 20-minute, 30-minute spurts. Otherwise, it gets too overwhelming.
Yeah. One part, I don't know how much I have on this part, but one part that I really loved was when they get into Rama for the first time. It's dark, like there's nothing in there. Like it doesn't. You can't see much. Like it's just a big black cylinder. Like there's nothing inside. There's no light. There's nothing to tell you that there's anything inside. They have a spotlight that they put at the axis on that on the platform cylinder near the axis to shine down to show the explorers where they're going, and they explore with just like a spotlight for a while.
Right.
Where the explorers will wander around this place, and they have, I don't know how they made the spotlight, but it's a big spotlight. And it just shines like tons of light down on the place. And they explore for quite a while like that. But on one of the times, they notice atmospheric changes inside the cylinder, because they realize, it's going towards the sun, and the sun's heating up the outside, and slowly that's heating the inside. It's thick enough that it's taking some time, but it's starting to heat the inside.
Right.
And the contained environment that this is big enough that it starts to experience some environmental changes, some wind and some. I think that's why they had to get out.
Right.
They realize they have to get out because there's going to be basically a hurricane
Right.
in the
Inside.
cylinder.
Inside Rama, yeah.
And they don't want to be there when there's a hurricane, so they start climbing out, they start getting out. So anyway, I just thought it was so fun that there was all this I don't know, it's just so fun. Like there's just all this atmospheric changes. You're like, what? Why do we have to deal with this? Like this is kind of ridiculous.
It's fun to think what that contained environment would cause.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a good job of thinking of a lot of things that would happen.
Yeah. So they have to jump out, and they jump back in later, and it had now it's a nice temperature. Like you can go wander around without your spacesuit on, and oxygen's coming up, and you're like, this is really weird.
Right.
It starts to get really strange because just stuff starts happening. And there's another part that I really liked where that kind of that discovery element I really like it because they're climbing the ladder. There's a ladder that turns into a staircase to get in and out at the airlocks, and so they're climbing the ladder to get out. And the way he goes about describing what happens is so cool. They're climbing out, and all of a sudden, it's like they can't see, and something's gone terribly wrong, and you're like, oh, what's happening? The lights turned on. They turn on. There's these huge lights on the inside of Rama that turn on, like these big daylight lights that just turn on. But the way he goes about describing that from the astronaut's perspective is so fun because they're clinging to the side of this vessel in very low gravity. And all of a sudden they can't see. And when they can see again, their eyes start to adjust and stuff, and they start looking around. It's no longer this big black cylinder. You can see everything in the 30-mile stretch of stuff. And it's just and they have to do they go through this whole reorientation in their heads. And
Right. He does a good job of explaining all the emotions and mental things that happen when that sudden moment occurs. And now this huge cylinder is now something you can see entirely because of these huge floodlights that they had. Yeah.
So cool.
I did like that part too.
Man, the aliens though that you run into, that was pretty weird.
Synopsis here. Continuing.
The aliens.
This is another part I liked, but I didn't realize I liked it until a quote later in the book. But so they're exploring the cylinder, and basically they realize that one of the problems is they can't get over that sea that's in the center that we were talking about because of the huge wall that they have to have so that the vessel can accelerate. Right. So it's like this, 150-foot wall or whatever it is that they just can't get over. So they send a guy to the other side of the vessel, past the sea. They send him on this kind of little, almost a little spaceship, kind of through the axis, so he doesn't experience any gravity. And they send him kind of straight down the axis through the cylinder so that he can land on the other side, and he explores. Yeah. And so he sees some things that are happening on over there, and he runs into the first encounter with so-called life of Rama. But it's not sure if it's a life form or a robot, but they run into these three-legged spider-looking things. Yeah. And they're not threatening still, but they're really good at just grabbing stuff and collecting it and taking it into this cave and this pit that he can't really go explore.
He describes them like crabs. They use the word crab a lot to describe what it is, and it just it just collects stuff and this is material. We're gonna throw this into this hole. You're like, weird.
And this is a part of the book that at first I was really not enjoying because it didn't explain a lot of the things that were going on, which is part of the book, right? Part of the point. Yeah. It's why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? But one of the lines I love in the book, this isn't the exact wording, obviously. Yeah. But one of the people says, oh, so the Ramans themselves have 3 legs. And the guy's like, well, how do you know that? He says, well, these robots they're making have 3 legs, and they make the robots after their own image. And I was like, wow, that's super profound. That's exactly what we do when we make robots and structures. We do symmetric 2-way objects because that's the symmetry we like because we're symmetric 2 ways. But if you were a 3-way symmetrical person, you would design things in a 3-way symmetrical manner because that's what you're used to. And that was super cool because there's a lot of things in the book and in the structure of Rama that is 3-way symmetrical. The ship itself has 3 floodlights going down the cylinder to light up the 3 parts of Rama. So there's all these 3-way symmetry going on. And one of the people realizes the Ramans must be three-legged.
Three-legged beings.
Yeah. So it was really cool. Like once I heard that, then
Yeah.
the rest of the previous part of the book, I was like, oh,
That's
that's cool. Like
yeah.
I would never have deduced that myself, but it's
Yeah.
cool that all these things we've been seeing leads to this understanding.
Mhm,
And then at the end, there's a little part where they confirm that. We'll get to that maybe a little bit later. I don't know. Maybe no.
I don't know. Oh man, that part was yeah. Oh, that part makes me so. But going back to the guy who flies across the axis,
Right.
another one of my favorite. Like, I don't know what it is, but I just love the parts where the people don't know what's going on, and like weird things are happening. They're trying to describe what's happening.
Right.
Like the guy flies across, right? And he goes to at the very end. So on the one side, it's kind of shaped like a pill, like a capsule on the top of the ship, on the front of the ship, basically. But in the back, where the propulsion system is, they don't tell us what the propulsion system is because they don't know, because there's no need to explain that. 'Cause anyway, at the back, instead of a capsule shape, there's these spikes. They're like spires, towers, spikes that go up. And the craziest thing is the guy gets back there. One of the things that I love is that is the places where the astronauts are when things are happening. Like when the lights turn on, they're on the ladder, and then there's a point where the rotation of the object changes. And surprise, guess where they are? They're in the sea, which causes a multitude of problems.
Causes tidal waves and
Yeah.
such.
Yeah,
Which is interesting.
I love it. And at this point, when the guy gets back to the spikes, all of a sudden, like all this stuff starts happening at the spikes, where it's like they're like giant electric towers, basically.
I thought of them as Tesla coils.
Yeah,
They're like giant
yeah.
Tesla coils.
Yeah,
They find out.
Perfect. And those that's a physical, that's a manifestation of the space drive. I don't know if that actually is the space drive or what it is.
Right.
But when he gets back there and the electricity starts turning on those things, the way he experiences it, just so cool the way it's described, because he can't figure out what's going on. And it's like, I can't figure out what's going on because he can't figure out what's going on. But he describes the things
And
that
he
he
realizes
feels.
like his hair is sticking up on end because there's a high
Yeah.
amount of electric charge.
Yeah, and then he starts looking around. He figures it out step by step, right?
And another cool thing is that he associates the experience to things he has felt on Earth before.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's like, oh, this happened when I was on Earth because such and such was happening, and then he realizes that's what's causing
right.
the electricity buildup is occurring and those types of things.
Yeah.
I wish I remembered all of them. There's a lot of cool things going on right there.
Right. It's like such a human, like a natural way for us to, like, that's how we experience things. That's how at least I feel like that happens to me. Like you think about past experiences and that helps you figure out what's going on right now. I love it. It's such a good book. And then electricity goes off and that's when he crashes.
He crashes on that side. They have to go like rescue him.
Oh man,
That was
part
that
really
was
good,
another
too.
part good. That was good too because he goes to that 150-foot wall.
Right.
They can meet him at the sea, but they can't get up to the 150-foot wall because he's on the other side of it.
Right.
So they just have him jump. And on Earth, if you jump from 150 feet, you're dead.
You die.
But
Super dead.
but because he's not experiencing gravity as much near the top,
Mm-hmm.
and like it slowly builds up towards the bottom, like he can just jump and he's fine. I just really like that description as well of how the gravity would change as he falls from this 150-foot wall and other things. It was cool.
I agree. And when he falls in, so there's like the ocean, right? That's just water, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then like the more they explore it, there's like microorganisms and stuff in there. They start finding all this stuff in the water.
Right.
And then of course the doctor, I wouldn't have thought of this, but the doctor starts realizing, oh, well, if you're going to be falling into the water, like don't get any of that in your mouth. Like don't get any of that in your eyes or in your nose. Because if you do, we don't know what'll happen. Like we don't know what this stuff is in this ocean. Like we don't know what these organisms are. We don't know what they do. We can't expose you to these things, or else you might just up and die on us.
Right.
Like you might just keel over right then. So he has to be like really careful to, as he falls into the water, to plug his nose and hold his eyes shut and keep his mouth shut. And it's so cool. It's I love.
It's really
this
good.
book. It's such a good book.
I got 2 more points.
Okay, please.
So towards the end, they realize that, they realize this from the beginning, but they only have a certain amount of time they can stay on Rama.
Mm-hmm.
Because eventually it's going to slingshot around from the Earth or from the sun's gravity and kind of exit back out of the solar system, assuming it stays on its course.
Yep.
And so they have to leave Rama by some point before it gets too close to the sun, first of all, and before it starts its slingshot heading the other direction.
Yeah.
And so towards the end, they realize that they don't have as much time as they want or what could ever have, right?
Yeah.
Ever want,
Yeah.
And so they have to start breaking into the ramen buildings because they're really these like just giant metallic boxes almost
Yeah.
that you can't really, there's no door or anything like that.
Right.
And so they're trying to figure out what's inside. And so they're starting out by trying and not using any destructive force, but towards the end they decide to use a couple of destructive forces to get inside
Right.
the metal boxes and figure out what's inside them.
Right. Because there's several cities full of these things that are just, we don't know what they are, but they're here, and we need to
Right.
figure out what's inside.
So they use some explosives, or I don't remember if explosives or some
Torch. I don't know.
some laser. I can't remember. They get inside, and and they find these huge columns
hmm
that are basically storing what I would describe in modern terms like digital blueprints
hmm
of everything that the ramens would ever need to create.
Yep.
It's almost like this digital library of ramen artifacts.
Yeah.
And that's where they find out that the ramens are three-legged because they find a ramen like spacesuit,
Yeah.
and it's got 3 legs in it.
That's the coolest part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
and so they find this huge library of like just digital artifacts, digital blueprints.
hmm
And the idea is that the ramens can like generate things
hmm
and just like construct them as needed from this digital library.
Right. They go through and figure out that they deduce that a lot of the stuff they see, a lot of the little creatures that they've experienced, it's basically like a big factory in a lot of ways that will build things on an accelerated scale, on an accelerated timeline to be able to produce
Whatever they need, really.
what they need. Yeah, exactly. Organically in an organic kind of way.
Yeah. And so it still doesn't describe, and that was the hardest part, it still doesn't describe the ramens. Like, you never
Yeah.
see a ramen.
Nope.
And then they have to leave.
Mhm.
And so then it's the whole thing. Is it going to slow down? Is it going to enter the Earth's or the Mercury's orbit? Like, what's it going to do? And when they leave, they find out that Rama is sucking energy from the sun.
hmm
Then it just slingshots even faster out of the solar system,
Yep.
taking the energy from the sun that it needed, and it's just on its merry way.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much.
And so it can be a frustrating book at the end, but I love the point of it at the end.
hmm
First of all, the point that they couldn't understand everything about the ramens, especially in that finite amount of time, and that there's just going to be things they don't know. I just love that from like a science perspective,
Yeah.
because we like to talk about things in science and in history and all these subjects as like concrete, like, oh, this is for sure how it happens.
Yeah.
But we can't know certain things about the past.
hmm
And we can't really know certain things about even our present physical world. Like if you think about quantum mechanics, there's so many weird things going on down there that are so hard to describe. So I love that from this, like, just like as a scientist, that whole idea that, yeah, here's what you know. Like, good job collecting all this information. Try and figure it out. Like, but there's just going to be things you're not going to be able to know.
Yeah.
Like there's a part where he goes and like grabs a flower from this random like cage.
Yeah.
Never explained. Never,
yeah, they
never described, but like they have this random ramen flower
hmm
that was in this like cage area,
hmm
and they don't know why.
hmm
And now, as a scientist, you would be left to deduce,
Yeah.
and that's all you can do with the information you have. So I love that part personally as a scientist. But as like reading the book, I was like, wait, what? Like,
I know it's over. No, it's so sad. I love that you pulled that from the ending of the book. Like I never considered. I love talking about this with you because you know this so much that I never even thought of. But I don't know. I had this like the captain describes like a lot of the feelings that he's having as they're leaving.
right.
And they talk about it as they're leaving and as they see, the lights start to turn off and the world kind of changes back. Things like all the little creatures they see, they all jump into the ocean and just like a lot of weird stuff happens. And then it's like, we have to go, we have to get out of here now because there's no more time. Like we won't survive if we
Right.
don't leave now. Oh, when they left, I felt this just deep sadness. I think similar to what the captain was feeling, but it's just like I just had this like deep sense of just regret and loss. Like,
Right.
like I'm never gonna know. I'm never gonna know what happened with this place. I'm never gonna know anything about it. I'm never gonna get to experience it again. It's gone. And
Right.
it made me so sad.
Well, I'm sorry. The other part I loved, along the same lines, is the whole message of the book, or not the whole message of the book, but kind of that last message he gives at the end is that we always like to think of aliens as like this threatening form that if they ever find our universe, their goal is to like destroy us. And
yeah.
like that's how it's always just displayed in sci-fi and in just movies because it's an exciting thing to say.
Yeah.
But the whole point of this book is like, if the Ramans even knew we were here, they were indifferent to us.
Yeah.
They were indifferent to our presence.
Yeah. They had no idea.
Well, or if they did, they just didn't care.
That's
like,
true. Yeah.
I love that thought that they were like so advanced that our primitive world was even just like, like we want to just there's some weird life form over on Earth and over there, but
Right.
they shouldn't be a problem. We'll just go right past them. You know, like
We'll just take a quick stop to get some energy and get out of here.
yeah. So that was a really cool thought because like
Yeah.
you grow up and that's just how it's always described with aliens, evil, destroy the world, like
Right.
super intelligent. Like if they find us, we're dead. You know.
Right.
And so just like a different perspective is just kind of interesting. you know?
Yeah.
That if they were there, like, they probably wouldn't care.
Yeah. Just didn't care if they're spacefaring to the point where they can just come and show up at our solar system. It's like they probably just won't care.
Yeah.
For our one planet or our 7 planet spacefaring civilization, like it's not a big enough deal.
Right. Not that I have like a particular opinion about like aliens.
But, no, none of this reflect right.
But like just the idea. It's fun to have a different perspective, you know. So
Definitely. Yeah.
you're not gonna see me protesting anti-alien
Nonsense.
opinions.
Yeah.
We're too mean to aliens.
Yeah.
Aliens are friends, not foes.
Yeah. This is a book. I just love this book. There's so much about it that I just absolutely love it. Just it captures that. It captures the discovery of something new and something unique and special that in a lot of ways you can't do. I've only experienced this a couple other places that I really feel like I've experienced this kind of discovery.
Right.
A lot of movies. Okay. I know this is a little off topic. I know we're a little over time, but a lot of movies and a lot of like video games and stuff.
They move too fast.
Yeah, they move too fast. They show too much. And there's just not enough time for me to absorb and to learn and to experience. And that's one thing that this book gave me was a chance to experience a discovery, because we don't get a lot of that. Like we can see a lot of the world. And a lot of the world is, I don't know, it's we've seen a lot of it. We have documentaries like Planet Earth and
Right.
there's just not a lot to explore anymore. Not a lot of stuff to see for the first time ever.
Right.
And this is one instance where you get to go with an explorer to somewhere that's never been seen, that never will get to be seen again.
You asked me once if this would make a good movie, or you told me to think about that.
Yeah.
This would make an awful movie.
Oh yeah.
Just exactly for that point.
Mm-hmm.
You there's no way you could pace a movie well enough
Right.
to match the sense of discovery that makes Rendezvous with Rama what it is.
Right.
So to answer your question, yeah, let's never make this a movie.
Never.
That would be a terrible idea.
I know. The first time I finished the book, I really wanted to I wanted a movie. I wanted to see it. I wanted a visual experience with this book. And I agree. The more I've thought about it, the more I realized it's a terrible idea. Like even if it was done perfectly to the way that I love it and that I experience it, it's impossible. The experience that you have with the book is unique to you. It's
Right.
unique to the way you see it in your head. There's no way, no amount of explaining can ever put that in a way that would be meaningful. And
Right.
I agree. There's no way they could make a movie, and if they got their hands on the freaking trailers, they'd botch it in the first 5 minutes. Because guess what scenes there would be in the trailers? The lights would be turning on in the trailers, and the electricity would be shooting off in the trailers, and all the stuff that happens in the book would all be in the trailer. And I just want to throw stuff at the TV when I see trailers sometimes.
That's a good point. I don't know if you could make a trailer.
I
You'd just be like the words, "Rendezvous with Rama." It's good. We promise. Come see it. That's all you could do. Like you couldn't make because any part of the trailer would be a spoiler.
Right.
There's no way you could show any part of it.
Right. I think you could build enough trailer from the very beginning. Like you could lay out the
you
United
just show
planets
the first 5 minutes of the movie as the trailer.
as the trailer, right? You can lay out the United Planets and this complex meteor tracking system that they design, and then
and you just end on what's that signal we're getting, and then you have to cut it.
right. Like you get like a snapshot image of this like little cylinder on a screen, and it's like, the heck's that?
Yeah.
And then boom, Rendezvous with Rama, and you're like,
yeah, that's all you could do. That's literally all you could do. Like everything else would be a spoiler.
And for me, like for somebody who's read the book, they'd be like, I get so excited. I'd be so excited. I start shaking. And then like most everyone else would be like, what's it about? He's like, no, you can't. I can't tell you. And they'll be like, what? Lame. I'm not going to go see that. And you're like, no. It'll never.
Yeah.
And then whatever they do for visuals will never live up to what you see in your head. It'll never live up to the way you experienced it. And so,
but it's so good.
It's so good.
If you listen to this in spite of our warning to not listen unless you've read it, and now you're saying, well, I want to read that book, still go read it.
Yes.
It's still worth it.
Yes.
Any other parts of the book you want to bring up?
No. I mean, I could talk about it forever, but no. I could do like a page by page like study session on the book because I love it so much. But no, I think I have to buy myself a physical copy. I really want this book for me forever because I really love it. It might rank as one of my all-time favorite books.
Definitely does for me, but that's because I don't read that much.
Like, yeah, this is like the first fiction book I've read in like 10 years. So,
yeah, exactly. Exactly. If you're putting in the fiction genre, it's definitely near the top.
It's number 1 out of 3. All right.
Yeah, pretty much. So, since this is Save the World, we got one last question.
Okay.
Would the world be a better place if everyone read Rendezvous with Rama?
Heck yeah. Well, I can't. I think so. I certainly think so. I think it captures something that this world has lost. And I do have a couple things that capture that as well. Some video games have been able to capture that for me, and some books have been able to capture that for me, but nothing like Rendezvous with Rama. Nothing captures the discovery, and that's something that we lack in this world of videos and pictures and media and transportation
An instant lookup of information.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree. I'd say if there's any it's just a fun read. But if there's any actual benefit to society and to people for reading it, I think it is that taking the time to go through that process of discovery that is harder to get nowadays. So, and it's not just like, because books are slow because you have to read them, and so that naturally happens. It's like, no, Rendezvous with Rama is specifically designed for that.
Yeah.
More than any other book I've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. Same. And so people.
So save the world, everyone. Go read the book.
Go get the book. It's worth whatever money you pay for it. It's worth it. How much is it? $15? If you're gonna spend $15 on it, it's well worth a $15 meal. Okay, it'll get way more enjoyment out of it, and you'll love it forever. Go read the book. The cylindrical sea is really scary.